On a dangerous alien planet, a team of elite survivalists faces the galaxy's most terrifying predator, the Void Howler. This creature is a nightmare come alive, strong, smart, and deadly. But when a human named Joel arrives, everything changes. Instead of fear, Joel faces the monster with boldness, curiosity, and even humor. His courage and unusual approach bring hope to his team and challenge what the galaxy thinks about humans. This story is full of tension, action, and deep bonds formed in the harshest conditions. The stakes are life and death, but also trust and survival. The campfire flickered softly in the cool alien night. Shadows danced across the rocky ground of Talos 7, a world known for its cruel creatures and deadly beauty. Around the fire sat 4 figures, 3 aliens and 1 human. Their faces were lit by the flames, but their eyes showed something deeper, wariness, respect, and a touch of fear. Lieutenant Galactic, the leader, was watching the darkness beyond their camp. He had heard the stories, the whispered warnings about the Void Howler. A creature born from nightmare, it moved like shadow and stone. Its muscles were thick and powerful, jaws unhinged wide enough to crush bone, and its many eyes glowed with cold intelligence. No one alive had seen one and lived to tell the tale. Joel, the human, sat casually on a crate, peeling a strip of tough jerky. Unlike the others, he was relaxed, almost bored. His exosuit looked like a patchwork of salvaged parts, held together by grit and sheer stubbornness. His modified flamethrower rested at his side, a strange mix of tools and weapons that spoke of human creativity and danger. Joel chewed slowly, eyes thoughtful. The quiet crackle of the fire was broken by Joel's question. "How would you season it?" The others froze. Galactic's primary eyes narrowed, while his secondary eyes rolled skyward in disbelief. Drusilla, her hair tendrils twitching nervously, stared at him like he'd just said the stars were falling. "You wouldn't," Galactic finally said, voice tight with confusion. Joel shrugged, still chewing. "I'm hungry. And it sounds like a good challenge. Texture, flavor, that's important if you want to survive." Drew Solo, another survivalist, looked disgusted, but Joel just smiled. The others had been cautious, jumping at every noise. Joel had rigged makeshift alarms from ration cans and dental floss. While the team huddled and scanned the shadows, Joel snored peacefully under a cargo tarp, one hand on his flamethrower like a lucky charm. At dawn, the sky spilled colors like a painter's palette, purple, blue, yellow. The production drone floated above, capturing every moment for the millions watching across the galaxy. This was Void Survival, or Iron Drift, a brutal contest where only the strongest survived 5 nights on Talos 7. 2 kilometers into the rust-colored canyon system, Joel's sharp scream cut through the air. "Everyone, get down." From the rocks came a ripple, and then the Void Howler appeared. 10 feet of pure muscle and teeth, its camouflage shifting between stone and sky like a ghost. The creature moved with terrible grace, its claws glinting sharp as it came closer. Galactic barked orders, and the team formed a tight defensive circle. Drusilla, the medic, readied her supplies. Varric, the warrior, took a battle stance carved from years of discipline. But Joel did something unexpected, he charged. His exosuit screamed with the effort, pistons pushing beyond safe limits. Joel tackled the creature, his flamethrower roaring, painting the air with fire. The Void Howler's camouflage shattered, revealing a hide like dark oil slick armor, sparking where flames touched it. Joel's voice rang out, calm and sharp. Soft at the joints. His combat knife found the creature's weak spots, joints, places where even monsters had to be vulnerable. The Void Howler shrieked, a sound like metal tearing and dying stars. Drusilla dropped to her knees, the pain of the noise overwhelming her sensitive ears. The beast's claws raked across Joel's suit, sparks flying as coolant spilled. But Joel held on, biting into flesh, tasting copper and iron, fighting like only humans could. The battle ended with Joel on top, breathing hard and grinning like he'd won the universe's cruelest lottery. "Educational," he said, wiping purple blood from his visor. "You're insane." The others circled, half horrified, half amazed. Joel was already pulling out heat sinks and aromatic plants, rigging a smoker. He explained cooking the meat low and slow, a process to make even a nightmare predator into food. Kartik muttered, "You're a savage." Joel just laughed. "Where I'm from, sharing a meal is respect. Especially if you kill it first." As the meat sizzled, Joel carved a piece and chewed thoughtfully. "A bit dry. Could use a rub." The team stared, stunned. Joel looked up, grinning. "You never eaten fresh kill?" The news exploded across the galaxy. The human who ate monsters was trending everywhere. Religious leaders debated, military strategists reconsidered. Billions watched the fearless human casually seasoning the nightmare they feared. Kartik was furious. "Your arrogance could kill us all." Joel waved him off. "It worked out, didn't it? My suit's beat, but I can fix it overnight. I'm fine." Kartik shook his head, needing a drink. Drusilla produced a flask, probably not meant for personal use, and cleaned Joel's wounds, smirking at his grimace. "You changed the game," she said softly. "You made it personal." Joel's grin faded, eyes hardening. "If the next thing out here is smarter, I'll have to be meaner." That night, under 3 moons cold light, Kartik approached Joel at the cave mouth. His eyes, 4 in total, studied the human deeply. "You're reckless, dangerous, primitive. But, maybe we need that." Joel nodded. "Thanks for looking out for me." Suddenly, a howl echoed in the distance. Joel's grin returned. "That's not a rager cat. No. The Void Howler. And thanks to me, it knows we're here." Kartik's bone crest flattened with concern. Joel smirked. "I hate hunting on an empty stomach." The team moved cautiously, their nerves taut. Drusilla found a grim message, Varric's weapon carefully arranged in a spiral, a mocking sign from the creature. It wasn't just hunting, it was playing a game. Joel studied the patterns carved in the rock. The Void Howler wasn't just a predator. It was an artist, a thinker, a hunter that knew their moves. The stakes were higher than anyone expected. The Void Howler was learning. Planning. Watching. Joel spent hours building traps, sensors, and a web of surveillance. "Humans survive by obsession," he said, "by never letting go." The Void Howler disabled one trap silently, mocking and warning them. It was a predator playing chess while others played checkers. That night, Joel sat awake, speaking softly into the darkness. "You're smart. So are we. This isn't personal. Just survival." A chill ran through the team as the Void Howler stepped inside their perimeter, marking its presence with a carved human hand, 5 fingers spread wide. Joel's face hardened. "It thinks we're predictable. Time to prove it wrong." The battle was coming, and Joel was ready. The night pressed down like a heavy weight. The sky was a deep violet, pierced by 3 pale moons that cast long, eerie shadows on the rocky terrain. The camp was quiet, but the silence was not peace. It was the calm before a storm. The Void Howler was close, too close. Joel sat at the cave's mouth, his flamethrower resting across his knees. His eyes scanned the dark like twin searchlights, sharp and unblinking. Around him, the others were tense, eyes wide and bodies coiled like springs. Every sound made them jump, every movement made them ready to fight. But Joel seemed to breathe in the danger like it was air. Drusilla came quietly, her tendrils moving softly as she checked his bandages. "You should sleep," she said, voice gentle but firm. "You're exhausted." "Sleep's overrated," Joel replied without looking away from the darkness. "Besides, I'm learning." "Learning what?" Joel pointed at the empty air, tracing invisible lines. Patterns. Even chaos has patterns. Every 43 minutes, something stirs the insects over there. He flicked a finger toward a far rock. Too regular for wind. Too careful for prey. Drusilla frowned. You think it's the Void Howler? Joel nodded. It's been circling us for hours. Watching. Learning. The others listened but said nothing. They knew the stories. The Void Howler was more than a monster. It was a mind wrapped in muscle and shadow, a hunter who played with its prey before the kill. Suddenly, a sharp scream shattered the night. It wasn't outside the camp, it came from inside. The team leapt up. Their weapons were ready in seconds, eyes scanning the dark. Cordic's pack lay shredded near the entrance. Rations were scattered like spilled secrets. And on the cave wall, carved deep into the stone, was a crude but unmistakable symbol, a human hand, 5 fingers spread in greeting or warning. Cordic's voice was low, tense. It was here. Inside. Joel crouched beside the carving, running his fingers over it. It's smart. It knew how to draw us out. He looked up, his usual cocky grin replaced by something serious. There's no thought or plan in our heads right now that it hasn't planted itself. The weight of that silence settled on them all. The Void Howler wasn't just stalking. It was toying with them. Joel stood, determination burning in his eyes. It thinks we're predictable. Time to change the game. The next morning brought no relief. The sun rose pale and cold, spilling light over jagged rocks and dry canyons. Joel was already moving, rigging traps and sensors with the patience of a master craftsman. His hands worked quickly, setting pressure plates beneath dry leaves, suspending motion sensors inside hollowed-out rocks, and arranging wire traps that glittered faintly in the light. You're enjoying this, Cordec remarked, watching Joel work. Joel looked up, wiping sweat from his brow. This is my element. Drew chuckled, I can see that. Joel adjusted a sensor's angle by mere micrometers. Humans survived by being obsessive little bastards. We hold grudges, remember everything. We don't quit. Cordec nodded slowly. You're building a web, and we're the spiders. Joel grinned. Exactly. The afternoon passed with tense waiting. Joel's proximity alarm, hidden in a hollow rock, remained silent for long moments, then suddenly stopped working. Not triggered, just dead. Joel knelt, examining the site. It found the sensor. Then disabled it. Cordic's eyes narrowed. That's not mocking. It's warning. Joel shook his head. It's communicating. Look at this. He pointed to the ground, where Varric's Plazak caster lay surrounded by power cells arranged in a perfect spiral. Cordec frowned. It understands our technology. More than that, Joel said quietly. It knows what we're capable of. This isn't a game to it. It's a battle of minds. That night, they huddled in the cave, rotating watches. Joel insisted on the middle shift, sitting cross-legged with his flamethrower ready. Drusilla came to check his bandages again. You're pushing too hard, she said softly. Joel smiled tiredly. Can't stop now. I'm watching its patterns. Waiting. Watching the darkness can drive a person mad, Drusilla warned. Joel's eyes never left the black beyond their camp. Maybe that's the point. Hours passed. Joel spoke softly into the night, breaking the silence. You're clever. So are we. This isn't personal. Just survival. A low sound echoed back, a mimic of Drusilla's laugh, a twisted version of Cordic's commands. The Void Howler was mocking them, warping their voices into something strange and wrong. Joel's grin was wild. Smart learns smart. But humans, we've been fighting monsters in our heads since we came down from the trees. The night's peace shattered suddenly. Motion sensors tripped one after another in a tight spiral, closing in on the camp. The Void Howler was no longer hiding. It was announcing itself. Varric let out a growl that shattered the stillness. The team rushed forward to see him suspended upside down, thick molecular wires wrapped around his ankles. The Void Howler moved like smoke, shadow, and hunger all at once. It stood 12 feet tall, its form shifting fluidly but deadly. Its barbed claws glittered like weapons forged in nightmare. Joel raised his flamethrower, and the creature mirrored his stance, a dark reflection of human confidence. Kartik shouted commands, and the team opened fire. Plasma bolts and bullets sparked against the creature's hide, which rippled and changed, adapting to each attack. The Void Howler moved faster than thought, ignoring laws of physics as if they were mere suggestions. Joel's flamethrower caught the creature midsection. Fire was harder for it to adapt to than energy weapons. The Void Howler shrieked, a sound like tearing metal and dying stars. It recoiled, solidifying just enough for the team to glimpse its true form, a terrifying blend of biological wonder and mechanical nightmare. Joel said softly, "You're beautiful." For a moment, predator and prey regarded each other with something like respect. Then the Void Howler lunged, not at Joel, but at Drusilla. "No!" Joel screamed, throwing himself between them. The impact was like being hit by a creature made of leather and bone filled with water. They rolled across the rocky ground, claws shredding armor and skin. Joel fought with desperate fury, biting, stabbing, refusing to let go. Varric fired a backup weapon, an explosive round that struck the creature's vital spots. The Void Howler fled, leaving behind a promise in its eyes: this was war now. Joel sat up, blood dripping and armor sparking. "Thanks to you," he muttered to the team. Drusilla worked quickly, her touch firm but caring. "That was stupid." Joel laughed, coughing blood. "Couldn't let it have you." Kartik studied the blood trail into the dark. "It's wounded. We could track it." "No," Joel said firmly, pushing himself up despite pain. "That's what it wants. Wounded animals run. Wounded humans set ambushes." His grin was fierce. "We go full human on this. Mean, creative. Find out what it tastes like." The Void Howler was planning. Learning. Adapting. But Joel knew one thing better than any machine or monster: humans never gave up. The sun sank behind jagged peaks, painting the canyon walls with blood red and gold. The team moved cautiously to a narrow ravine Joel had chosen, a natural choke point with few entrances. He called it the perfect place to turn the hunt against the hunter. Joel's fingers danced over wires and triggers as he set the last of the traps. Explosives were carefully placed near unstable rock formations. Mirrors angled to confuse any creature watching from the shadows. Loops of recorded voices played softly on hidden speakers, echoing their own chatter back at them in distorted waves. Kartik watched, eyes sharp but wary. "You're not just setting traps," he said. "You're trying to talk to it." Joel grinned, wiping sweat from his brow. "Catch it comes later. Right now, I want it to know we're not prey. We're players. Equals." The team was tired. Kartik leaned against a rock, his energy low. Varric favored his right side, wincing with every movement. Drusilla's tendrils twitched unevenly, a silent sign of neural fatigue. Even Joel felt the weight of exhaustion pressing on him like the heavy air. They needed food. They needed rest. Joel pulled Kartik aside. "Change of plans. You and Varric rest. Drusilla, check your limits. I'll handle the hunt." The others hesitated but trusted Joel's judgment. He was the human who had faced the Void Howler and lived to tell the tale. If anyone could lead them, it was him. That night, under the flickering light of the campfire, the team gathered around a strange sight. The Void Howler had left them a message, their previous camp recreated with terrifying accuracy. Rocks arranged like ration packs, vegetation woven into shelter shapes. "It's art," Drusilla whispered, a hint of awe in her voice. Joel nodded slowly. "Terrifying, but beautiful. It's showing us it understands. It's sending a message, a warning or a challenge." As the fire crackled, Joel spoke softly into the dark. "I know you're listening. I respect what you are. But I've got people to protect. That makes us enemies, not by choice, but by survival." No answer came, but the shadows seemed to shift, heavier now, more focused. Joel smiled faintly. "You've probably never met anything that talks back." The attack came at 3 a.m., as predicted. The motion sensors blinked in a perfect spiral, closing in on their camp. The void howler moved like smoke and shadow, 12 feet tall, form shifting fluidly but with deadly intent. Varric was caught first, tangled in molecular wire, suspended upside down. His roar shattered the silence as the void howler prowled around him, claws barbed and lethal. Joel raised his flamethrower and the creature mirrored him, a twisted reflection of human defiance. Kardic's voice cracked orders through the chaos. Plasma bolts and bullets struck the creature's hide, but it adapted with frightening speed. The void howler was a master of survival. Joel's flamethrower caught its side, fire licking against its dark armor. The creature shrieked, a sound like metal ripping and dying stars. It reeled, solidifying enough for the team to see its true form, a mix of flesh and nightmare, bone and shadow. Joel said, almost gently, "You're beautiful." For a heartbeat, predator and prey held a moment of respect. Then the void howler lunged at Drusilla. "No!" Joel screamed, throwing himself between them. The impact was brutal, claws shredding armor and flesh. They tumbled, dust and blood mixing on the ground. Joel fought with desperate fury, biting, clawing, refusing to let go. Varric fired a backup weapon, an explosive round that struck the creature's vital organs. The void howler fled, eyes burning with promise. This was far from over. Joel sat, bloodied and broken, armor sparking. "Thanks to you," he muttered. Drusilla worked fast, her hands steady despite the adrenaline. "That was reckless." Joel laughed weakly. "Had to protect my friends." Kardik studied the blood trail. "It's wounded. We can track it." "No," Joel said firmly. "That's what it wants. We fight smarter." His grin was fierce. "Tomorrow, we go on the offense." The void howler was planning, adapting, learning. But Joel had one advantage, human stubbornness. The team settled into a tense silence, knowing the final battle was near. The morning air was sharp and cool, a thin mist clinging to the canyon walls like a ghost. The team moved with deliberate care, Joel leading them through narrow paths and shadowed crevices. Every step was measured, every sound noted. The void howler was out there, wounded but dangerous, watching, waiting for its moment. Joel's face was set, muscles tight beneath the patched exosuit. The pain from his injuries was a dull roar in the background, but his mind was clear. This was no longer just survival, it was a hunt for something deeper. Respect. Understanding. Revenge. As they neared the thermal vent system, Joel stopped. He pointed to the jagged rock formations, where the vents cracked open, releasing bursts of superheated gas and ash. This was the trap he had planned, a geological snare powered by explosives and cunning. Kardik approached, his 4 eyes studying the setup with a mix of admiration and concern. "This is madness," he said, voice low. "The creature will smell a trap a mile away." Joel smiled thinly. "That's the point. Smart predators avoid traps. The really smart ones see the obvious trap and ask, what's the real game here? We're counting on that." The team worked through the day, checking sensors, reinforcing escape routes, and conserving energy. Varric grimaced but kept pace, his warrior pride pushing him forward despite the pain. Drusilla's tendrils twitched nervously, but she stayed close to Joel, ready to patch him up if needed. As night fell, they took their positions. Joel stood in the center, battered but unbroken. He handed Kartik his flamethrower, the creature's only known weakness. Kartik hesitated but accepted it with a grim nod. Joel pulled out his improvised weapon, a brutal mix of plasma cutter, harpoon, and sharp steel. "I don't need fancy tech," he said. "Luck and grit will do." The three moons hung low, casting eerie light on the canyon's sharp edges. The silence was heavy, filled with tension. Then, the Void Howler appeared. It moved like a shadow given form, flowing between rocks with impossible speed and grace. Its many eyes locked onto Joel, who stood firm, flamethrower raised like a warrior's salute. The creature's voice was not words, but mimicry, twisted echoes of their voices, distorted commands, laughter, and war cries. It was testing them, toying with their minds. Joel's grin was wild. "You learned our voices. That's impressive. But humans have fought monsters in their heads since the dawn of time." The battle erupted in a storm of fire and fury. Plasma bolts struck the Void Howler's adaptive hide, which shifted and glimmered like liquid shadow. The creature's claws tore through armor and flesh as it lunged with terrifying speed. Joel's flamethrower roared, flames licking at the creature's side. The Void Howler shrieked, a sound that shook the very ground. It bucked and twisted, trying to shake him off. Joel bit down hard, tasting blood and ash. His free hand found his combat knife, the simple steel blade his grandmother gave him. He drove it into the creature's joints, seeking the weak spots even nightmares must have. The Void Howler's tail lashed out, catching Joel across the chest. Pain exploded as his armor cracked. Blood seeped through, but he held on. The two apex predators rolled through steam and fire, each strike a desperate bid for survival. Joel's breaths came ragged, vision blurring. But his spirit burned bright. When the Void Howler reared for the final strike, Joel drove both boots into its chest, staggering the beast. With his last strength, he activated the plasma cutter, carving through flesh and armor. The creature convulsed, flickering between solid and shadow. Joel clung to life, riding the death throes with ferocious will. The Void Howler's tail wrapped around his throat, squeezing. Darkness crept in, but Joel's hand kept moving, stabbing, fighting. The explosion that followed painted the canyon in unearthly colors. The shockwave shattered rocks and burned the night. Joel was thrown clear, battered but alive. When the team reached him, he was more flesh than machine, his armor melted and broken. His pulse was weak, but steady. The Void Howler was dead, cooked from the inside out by fire and fury. Drusilla worked quickly, stabilizing Joel. His eyes fluttered open, blood and ash coating his face. "You're alive," she whispered, disbelief and relief mingling. Joel smiled faintly, coughing. "Took a lot of work." Kartik approached, eyes full of respect. "You changed everything." Joel looked at the Void Howler's massive form, now still and silent. "Everything's edible, at least once." That night, the team worked by firelight, processing the carcass with care and precision. Joel taught them how to identify safe cuts, test for toxins, and preserve meat with volcanic salts. "This is survival," he said softly. "Cooking for someone is the most basic form of care. Taking raw things and turning them into life." They ate in silence at first. The meat was tough and gamey, with a coppery aftertaste. But it was nourishment. It was strength. Varric nodded slowly. "Not bad." Joel smiled, pain pulling at his features. "Give it 20 minutes. You'll feel the difference." As the alien proteins fed their bodies, the team's strength began to return. Kartik's eyes regained focus. Drusilla's tendrils stilled. Varric's wound started to heal faster. Joel's act of kindness, born from hunger and hope, rekindled their will to survive. The cameras captured it all: Joel, battered and broken, teaching his team how to turn nightmare into life. Days passed like a slow burn, the harsh sun moving across the cracked sky as the team recovered. Joel's wound still ached, but his spirit was stronger than ever. Around the flickering campfire, something had changed. The fear that once gripped them had loosened, replaced by a fierce determination born from shared struggle. Kartik sat beside Joel, his 4 eyes watching the human with quiet respect. "I was wrong about you," he said simply. "About humans?" Joel chuckled, blood still staining his lips. "Yeah, well, we're reckless and dangerous. Too primitive for modern war. But we make it work." Drusilla smiled softly. "You feed us, Joel. More than food. You gave us hope." Joel nodded, gaze drifting to the stars. "That's what humans do. We find the monsters, kill them, then turn them into soup for our friends." Their story spread quickly, carried by broadcasts and whispers across countless worlds. The human who ate monsters had become a symbol, not just of survival, but of fierce loyalty and compassion in the face of darkness. Months later, Joel sat across from Kartik in a quiet bar, far from the blazing canyons of Talus 7. The air was thick with the scents of strange drinks and distant music. Kartik studied a set of architectural plans Joel had spread before him, blueprints for a restaurant unlike any other. A restaurant? Kartik's 4 eyes blinked in disbelief. Joel grinned. Apex. Locally sourced, environmentally conscious, with the freshest ingredients. Monsters included. Kartik stared, stunned. "You want to serve monsters as food?" Joel nodded. "Yeah. This is why other species find humans disturbing. We don't just survive our monsters, we sauce them." Kartik raised a glass, pouring a drink that made his ancestors proud. "How much does it pay?" "Enough to keep me busy," Joel said with a smirk. "And you get veto power on any menu items that might start interstellar incidents." They shook on it, 2 veterans of humanity's most public meal, sealing a pact that would ripple through the galaxy. Elsewhere, in the endless dark, other apex predators watched the final battle's footage. They made choices. They adapted. They avoided humans. And in kitchens across countless stars, chefs began experimenting with new recipes, inspired by Joel's fearless appetite. The universe was vast and full of flavors. And humans? Humans were hungry, ready to fight, to feed, and to protect their own. Joel's voice echoed across the stars in countless homes, bars, and battlefields. Humans don't just survive. We make sure everyone else does, too.